Good evening and welcome to another segment of Mas con Mas. I am your host, Raúl Mas Canosa. Thank you for being with us this evening. Appreciate you taking time out from your schedule to spend some time with us. I want to thank our sponsors, Longevity, Cachita Coffee, Grimal Joyeria. Without their support, this program wouldn't be possible. So thanks to them for making this venture a fruitful one. We have a special guest with us tonight. His name is Esteban Steve Bovo. Esteban Bovo is running for Miami Dade County Mayor. He is one of, I believe, 7 candidates that we have that are running.
Only one matters, though.
Only one matters, that's right. 7 candidates that will be running in the primary runoff on August 18th.
Yes.
Correct, August 18th. And whoever, if somebody gets more than 50% of the vote, which is highly unlikely, they will win outright. But if not, it'll probably go to a second round of elections in November. Esteban Bovo has been, very well known in this community. He's been around for quite some period of time. And pleasure to have you here on the program with us, Esteban. Thank you for being with us.
Raúl, thank you for the opportunity.
No, man, it's my pleasure. So I wanted to start off to let people know a little bit about you. I mean, Esteban Bovo was actually born in Queens, New York, right? I mean, give us a little bit about your history, your background.
I think my family has the typical exile experience that we see in South Florida. My parents left Cuba very early on. My dad was in the Cuban military. He was an Air Force pilot.
Right.
He had to leave right away. And my mother came and went to New York with her grandparents, basically my grandparents, but her parents. And then my dad, after the Bay of Pigs, my dad was involved in the Bay of Pigs. He was one of the military pilots. He then went to New York also.
Yeah, by the way, Esteban's dad is a legend in the Cuban-American community. As he mentioned, he fought in the Bay of Pigs. He was a very experienced Air Force officer and participated in the Bay of Pigs invasion force. I've had the privilege of meeting him on several occasions. I probably know his dad better than I know Esteban, but just a terrific individual and a real respected member of the Cuban-American community. So I apologize for that, but I want to make sure your father got adequate billing as well.
And I appreciate those words of my dad. Obviously his experience becomes a foundation for not just me, for my brothers and sisters. I have great memories of us all sitting at the dinner table. And in my home growing up, now once we moved from Queens, New York to Miami, in my home, the dinner time was, we talked a lot about what had happened in Cuba, what had happened in, to political prisoners, the fusilamientos, the firing squads. That became part of a foundation that obviously I think was baked into the DNA of myself and really my brothers and sisters. I think probably has been the foundation that's carried me in politics all my life, where there was an understanding, a intimate understanding of our community, what they went through, what they lost, what they've tried to rebuild here. In many cases, their expectations of being able to return, which became a fleeting expectation in many cases. My mother passed away last year, and I would tell you her probably only dream that was left unfulfilled was to be able to go back and see where she lived. And same thing with my dad.
I would venture to say that in the Bovo family, the concept that freedom isn't free is very well known.
It's not even a debate, and it's ironic because, like in every family, and we're very, very large, we're blessed. I'm one of 5, and each one of us have at a minimum 3 children. So we are very blessed with a lot of nieces and nephews. And in like any big family, you're going to have diverse opinions.
Sure.
So our family gatherings usually boil down to a lot of heated political subjects.
Right.
Of all political extremism, perhaps, and it's always interesting. We all have one foundation, though, in mind, that freedom is not free. We understand what our parents left and what they've had to rebuild.
That number 5 seems to be very important in your family because you've got 5 children as well, right?
I do. I have 5 children.
So you sort of followed the tradition to your generation.
Well, I would have told you, I swore up and down that would have never been the case with me. I marveled at the fact that my parents could, kind of cobble it together and put it together. They had a small family business, and like with all family business, you become an employee whether you like it or not of that family business, and it really I marveled, how could they put it together? How could they keep,
Sure.
a
Sure.
roof over our heads, food on the table? And lo and behold, now I'm the father of five with a lot of the same challenges.
Yeah.
So.
And are you still involved in that small business?
No, no, my parents, I would say back in the, I want to say maybe the early '80s, carried us throughout the '70s, early '80s. Technology changed. There was an
Sure.
interior decorating business, and there was no need really anymore for a store, and
Right.
they just morphed into
Sure.
other things.
But that obviously makes you very attuned to the problems of small businesses in our community and the challenges that they face.
I not only understood that a small family business becomes a lifeline, a 7-day work experience.
Sure.
We would go on vacation, and at some point in the vacation, we were talking about, clients that we had to make sure when we got
Sure.
back home we had to take care of. And quite honestly, it became, I think, later in life that I became more appreciative of the hard work that my parents,
Sure.
had undertaken. And they sustained it, I would say, for a good almost 20 years, the business, until it became unsustainable. And obviously, like all businesses, they become product of, the economic environment, other opportunities, trends.
Sure.
And
Sure.
but yeah, look, I learned a lot during that period of time. I learned the value of hard work. My dad baked into all his kids an understanding that if you did not want to be with your back bending and putting tile, which he taught us to do, or laying wallpaper or curtains, then there was a path of education. Not to demean any of the work I just described. In fact, I have probably more respect for that laborer than anything else. But it became very clear.
Sure.
You could have back pain by the time you're 20 years old, or you could, work
Sure.
in an office and learn skills through education, and he was a big proponent of that.
Terrific. Let's get into the first subject I wanted to talk to you about, Esteban, which is obviously the sort of elephant in the room of Miami-Dade County, if you will, which is the transportation mess that we all sort of suffer through on a daily basis. I think the only good thing about COVID-19 is that it's actually diminished our traffic problems in
How
Miami-Dade
sad
County,
that
right?
is, right?
I mean, it took me 15 minutes to get here, in Doral from my house in Coral Gables. So that's the only positive thing that's come out of this COVID-19. But some of your opponents are basically pointing the finger at you saying, hey, we passed that transportation tax, and it's the people that followed that screwed it up because they didn't use the money the way it should have been spent.
Yeah, sure.
That's not exactly true, is it? I mean, talk to us about that transportation tax, when it was passed, I think by Alex Pinellas during his administration, and what happened subsequently, and address those issues if you don't mind.
Well, there's so much, and we could literally probably fill 2 or 3 hours in
Right.
segments on this subject. But let's try to simplify it as much as we can for folks. The expectations of transportation all hinge on a half penny that the residents of Miami-Dade basically put upon themselves at the request of Mr. Pinellas. What was problematic with the entire plan is that the performas that were being generated at the time clearly indicated that the half penny, number one, was not going to be enough to do everything that was being promised, and there lies the problem, the overpromise. So we as taxpayers were asked to levy a half penny or a half cent on sales tax to do a couple of things. One, massively expand our mass transit system. That was like the shiny object that you were shown in commercials, that this is what you're going to do, this is what we're going to do, and this is what you're going to have. And we're going to have Metro Rail to FIU, to the beach, and we're going to have it everywhere in Miami-Dade County. That was the shiny object. That lured us in. In order for him to get the political buy-in, he needed to start cutting deals. And there's 2 areas where he cuts deals that I think, in essence, kind of doomed the vision of the shiny object. One was he had to give 20% to the cities, because the cities were not going to be participants, and the mayors at that time were not going to support the half penny effort unless there was something in it for the cities. So he cut 20%. So right off the bat, and to this point, it's almost $1 billion that we've given to cities over the last 20 years
Okay.
from that half penny. So that was one of the first things that I think doomed the shiny object, the Metro Rail, from not being able to be completed. And then the second thing that he had to do was compromise the transit union to get in and get on board with this. And they did. And they did it full-fledged. So how did he reward them? The moment the half penny passed, he rewarded them with hefty salaries. And then at that point, we came to the realization that we were the typical bait and switch. You know, the used car salesman who's showing you this car, but he wants you to buy this car. And before you know it, not only did we get doomed because of the 20% to the cities, the hefty salaries then to the unions, they put out buses. And there's one thing we all know about Miami-Dade County. We're not a bus culture here. We haven't developed ever with the thought process of how do you embed bus lanes or bus routes within our development. So what ends up happening, you start putting buses out in the community and nobody's using them. They're empty buses. All of us know the story of the articulated bus that's driving through Westchester empty. A bus that sits, 150 people, 200 people, empty, 2-3 passengers. And unfortunately, that narrative starts becoming problematic as we go out in the outer years, where the commission, before I got there, and the only thing I will acknowledge that Mr. Pinellas is probably right is that the commission, before I got there, started commingling the money because they were running.
Now, let's talk about that timeline. I think it's important for people to understand. So, Pinellas passes that half-cent tax in 2002, 2003 timeframe?
It was 2002 when the voters passed it, yeah.
2002. The Great Recession happens 2008, 2009 timeframe is when the economy suddenly went south. Mm-hmm. You don't even appear on the Miami-Dade County Commission until 2011, correct?
I don't get elected to the board in upheaval. We recalled a mayor and a sitting commissioner, and that's when I arrived at the Board of County Commission on a backlash of voter discontent because of increase in property taxes. So that's when I arrived. And it's shortly after that I'm appointed to become the chair of transportation. And I will tell you, I think I could tell you, in all honesty, I didn't understand the magnitude of the quagmire until I become the chair. And I ask a very simple question. Where did our halfpenny go? And now you start getting into a conversation with not just bureaucrats at the county, number crunchers, but you also start talking to consultants and you're trying to figure out where did we go awry? And then you start coming to the realization it was an overpromised solution, and there was a reason for it, because they always thought they were going to come back for the other halfpenny. Because what nobody wants to acknowledge or remember, that before the halfpenny, there was an attempt of a 1 penny that became such a political piñata of cronyism and corruption that we, the voters, rejected it outright.
Sure.
We abolished it quickly. But he came back because he needed a win. He needed to fulfill his portfolio because he always wanted a better deal at some point. He always wanted to run for something else. And the halfpenny becomes that foundation of a platform that he was going to use later on to have that street cred on transportation. But sadly...
And by the way, I think it's important also to point out that the federal government, when they looked at Miami's plan for that expanded transit, they rejected it because they said even with that halfpenny, the numbers didn't make sense, so the feds were not willing to step up to the table and give the county the promised money that they thought that they would get as a result of this halfpenny sales tax.
You've done your homework.
I have. Listen, let's break for a commercial. We'll be back and we'll continue this conversation. We need to break for a quick commercial here. Thank you for being with us. We'll be right back with Esteban Bovo to hear the other side of the transportation issues.
We are Entv USA. Log on now and check out our live shows and subscribe. You don't want to miss this. Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern Time, Línea Deportiva, a sports line. At 7 p.m., O Que Chisme, the best celebrity gossip show with Odi Abreu. At 8 p.m., Punto Final, another angle of news. 9 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays, we have A Lo Cortés with Tony Cortez. Tuesdays at 9 p.m., Dame Un Like. Thursdays, also at 9 p.m., De Noche con Roche. Fridays, 9 p.m., Mas con Mas with Raúl Mas Canosa. Every Wednesdays at 4 p.m., we've got Brisky Business with Dave Brisky. Followed by Inmigración en Fronteras with lawyer Irving Gonzalez at 5 p.m. This is our programming for ENTV USA from right here in Miami for the rest of the world. Con una vista, basta. Show some love and give us a like.
As you age, the collagen that helps keep your body in optimal physical condition breaks down faster than your body can replace it. But now, it's easy to give your body the healthy dose of collagen it needs with Collagen Creamer from Longevity. It's a delicious vanilla-flavored coffee creamer that's packed with 7.5 grams of bovine-sourced collagen peptides. Longevity's Collagen Creamer uses 2 types of collagen to better supply the protein needed to repair and strengthen the connective tissue in your body. It also supports healthy hair, skin, nails, and even bones. We've also formulated Collagen Creamer with MCT, healthy fats that the body is able to absorb and convert into an instant boost of energy. Add it to coffee or one of your other favorite beverages when you need it. Longevity Collagen Creamer. Support for healthy connective tissue and more energy, all in a tasty vanilla-flavored creamer. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
To stay healthy, it's crucial to make sure you get the nutrition you need every day. But it's difficult to get all your recommended vitamins and minerals from food alone. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 by Longevity is a simple, convenient, and affordable way to help your body get the essential nutrients it needs. BTT 2.0 supports your body's natural defense system with a proprietary blend of energy-boosting and body-loving nutrients, plus prebiotics, probiotics, amino acids, and enzymes that support digestion. But to get the most benefit and value from any multivitamin, your body must be able to break down the nutrients so you can fully absorb them. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 was specially formulated with synergizing cofactors to ensure you get maximum nutrient absorption. Beyond Tangy Tangerine 2.0 is the easiest way to give your body the balance and complete daily vitamin mineral supplement it needs. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Stop the COVID-19. Maintain social distancing. The best way to prevent the sickness is to avoid exposure and to avoid exposing other people. Maintain a distance of 6 feet whenever possible and cover your nose and mouth with a handkerchief or mask when in public. Avoid hugs, handshakes, and big reunions as well as events indoors. For more information, please go to floridahealthcovid19.gov. This is a message from ENTV USA for the community.
Paying attention to your overall health also means focusing on the command center of it all, your brain. Factors like stress, lack of sleep, poor diet, a sedentary lifestyle, and the bombardment of pollutants and toxins can all diminish brain and neural functions. When was the last time you concentrated on your brain health? Synaptive by Longevity is a cutting-edge, unique brain support supplement that delivers powerful nutrients both immediately and throughout the day. Its anti-stress nutrients provide instant brain-boosting support that helps with mental focus and cognitive activity. To enhance your body's neuroprotection, Synaptive's full-spectrum antioxidant blend targets 6 major classes of free radicals that inhibit brain function. This powerful nutrient combination also promotes healthy blood flow to the brain. Synaptive, optimal antioxidant neuroprotection and support for a healthy brain. Now that's something to think about. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate. Just because you're a certain age doesn't mean you have to look it or feel it. Immortalium by Longevity was developed to support your body's ability to age normally and healthfully. It's an advanced anti-aging supplement that combines the most effective essential nutrients in a cutting-edge, bi-layered and extended-release tablet designed to support your telomere health and natural aging process. Telomeres are the biological clocks within your cells that form the protective ends of almost every chromosome in your body. Telomeres help prevent the chromosomes from deteriorating, The longer and healthier the telomeres in a cell, the greater the health and anti-aging benefits. Immortalium contains synergizing antioxidant enzymes and telomere health-promoting nutrients that are quickly absorbed to give your body time to break down the antioxidants and put them to work. Immortalium, advanced anti-aging support that can help fight the natural aging process. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Welcome back, and thank you again to our sponsors, Longevity, Cachita Coffee, and Grimal Joyeria. We continue our interview with Esteban Steve Bovo, who is running for Miami Dade County Mayor. During the first segment, we got into the issue of transportation, and we were talking about a little-known issue regarding that half-cent tax that was passed by Mayor Pinellas back in 2002, I believe it was. And it was the fact that the federal agencies, when they looked at that and they looked at the county's plans for expanding the Metro Rail, even with the half-cent tax increase, the numbers didn't work.
Yeah, it was doomed. Let's be clear when we're talking about this issue of transportation and what is fundamental is that the local governments can't pay for the transportation by itself. It's too expensive. And there's no fare box recovery. In other words, but what that means is that the people that use the system don't pay for it enough. I mean, we usually have about 25% fare box recovery as far as the total budget of transit. So you need federal help to be able to do it. So when they take the plan to the federal government and they rate it, the federal government in its due diligence asks a very simple question, really a no-brainer question. How are you going to operate and maintain your system? Show us where your money is, how your investments are going to be, and let's take into account what does operation and maintenance mean. It's the train set. It's the actual operators. It's maintain it over the long haul. They're not going to give you federal money to build something that, 10 years from now becomes either obsolete or falling apart. At that point is when, the rubber hits the road.
Sure.
No pun intended. What happens? They can't demonstrate it. They realize that they don't have enough money to be able to operate because they were promising so many things to all different parts of our community. Raúl, it's exactly what's happening now. Okay, we're having those folks running for mayor. I told you earlier, there's only one candidate that matters. But for example, Mr. Pinellas is doing the exact same thing again. He's going to the south and saying, I promise you rail to the south and we're going to get it. And then he does the same thing in the north. And by the way, he'll tell that to the people on the beach. And when he's out west, he'll say the same thing. It's the same.
So he's holding up that shiny penny
He's
again and
hiding
saying, hey,
it again.
here's what we got for you.
A shiny penny, I like that.
That's
so he's
right.
holding, actually it's a half penny, but he holds,
Half penny.
he holds it up, and I think he's starting again to try to seduce people into this narrative that we could do all these things, and the reality is it's extremely expensive. It's a $6 billion plan, in essence, to be able to get transit all over to our community.
So let's move into, so we know a little bit about the history now, but talk to me about what Esteban's solution for the transportation mess is, because I think that's important. I mean, we can sort of criticize the past, what happened. I mean, that's all water under the bridge, as they say.
Yeah.
We are what we are. Like I said, the only good thing about COVID is that, transportation has eased up a little bit, the transportation woes, but that's not the right way to do it.
Yeah.
So where do you see the solution to our transportation problem? And then let's go into some of the other topics that you have on your platform as well.
Of course, and transportation is fundamental if we want to have a long-term Miami-Dade County. And we want to bring investment, you need to solve this problem. We already were spurred by Amazon HQ, or their second headquarters, bypasses Miami-Dade County because we don't have the transportation issue solved. So my thoughts on transportation is very simple. Number one, you're not going to get it done unless you collaborate with public-private partnerships. You need financial capital in order to really hyper-develop these corridors. We have 6 corridors identified, what we call the SMART plan. What I have done as chairman of transportation on 2 separate occasions is begin the process of laying out along these corridors the density mechanisms to help bring construction. Every successful transit component in the world in the world, most of them are underground, but those that are above ground, and there are many examples of it, all have hubs with economic activity. In other words, where you get on and get off, there are shops, there are restaurants, and there are apartments.
And let's explain that to the audience. I mean, one of the things in order to have a transportation system that works is you need ridership, right?
Absolutely.
And the only way that you're going to get ridership on any rail system or any transportation system that you create is if people getting on that system are going someplace to where they're going to transact business or they're going to work or they're going to live. So along those corridors, you really need to spur the development of businesses and commerce so that traffic density or that density on the rail or on that transportation system increases to where it makes sense to then spend the billions of dollars to put it into place.
Exactly. Where you get on and get off, you want it to be a safe environment, economic activity going on in that environment. You want to be able to walk literally to your transit mode, eliminating your car. So there's an opportunity here to do what one of my colleagues calls mini daylands along these corridors. So you create these hubs, and I think that's, to me, the future of transportation in Miami-Dade County. I'm not going to get you out of your car. The resident in Westchester, there is no dollar amount that we could eliminate a lane of traffic to dedicate it to a bus or buy enough property of right-of-way through an eminent domain to be able to lay out a corridor. That is not going to happen. And for those that say these kind of things or talk about or give that expectation, they're flat out lying to people. The only way we're going to be able to move this divide is take the corridors, the existing corridors, and look at those get on, get off points and develop them. It gives us the opportunity to deal with the private sector where you, Mr. Developer, may look at this as a development play where I'm looking at it as a transit play, and then there's that merger.
Sure.
You put up the capital to help us extend a line or build stations, and ultimately we're getting what we want, which is a rail line.
And you're bringing to them the people to make their businesses and their apartment buildings viable.
It's happening now. So if you go to downtown Miami, you'll see an example of this with the Brightline station.
Sure.
So Brightline has created, now while their model is to go to Orlando and ultimately to Tampa, this is that too far to fly but too short to drive kind of situation. What they're doing in essence for us is opening up a corridor to the northeast. So we've already made an investment in Aventura to build stations, and with the hope of building more stations along that corridor. Again, you're going to change the dynamic of those that live in northeast. That same thing could be repeated in the south, it can be repeated in the north, and it could be repeated in the west, but it ain't going to happen overnight. So it's leveraging the financial mechanisms that we have, bringing in public-private partnerships, and now making sure that that half penny is not invested in anything other than what was promised to the voters. And we need to be clear what was promised to the voters. Buses, sharing with the cities, and road construction, because a lot of people forget, baked into that half penny was that we were going to allow for road construction, because after all, we move via car.
Sure, sure. Let's talk about some other subjects. We could spend the whole segment talking about transportation.
Yeah,
we got other things that we need to talk about here. You mentioned infrastructure. You know, we've got big problems with infrastructure, water quality, sea level rise, et cetera, et cetera. Let's talk about small businesses. You know, what's going on with them, particularly with COVID-19.
Yeah.
And last but not least, public safety, which is a big issue these days.
Sure.
Which one of those do you want to tackle first?
Well, let me do the easy one first. I think public safety is something that fundamentally, as a taxpayer, I expect. I want a police officer to come when I call within 5 minutes. I don't want to wait 20 minutes for a police. And we've seen a narrative going on in this country now which should alarm us all. And while our elections are nonpartisan, there's a linkage between New York, Chicago, Portland, Seattle, LA, San Francisco. You know, you got Democrat mayors in Democrat states operating.
Sure.
And check out the upheaval. Now, this did not happen, Raúl, overnight.
No,
This is years of progressive policies that lead to the same chaos that mirrors all those areas. I don't want that in Miami-Dade County. And I think we need to get away from this conversation of defunding the police. I'm the only one that has steadfast said from the very beginning, we will not defund police under my watch. There's also another conversation which will blow anybody's mind, is close prisons.
Right.
And I'm not down with any of those plans. In fact, on the contrary, I think we need to invest in our police department. That's why the PBN, the FOP have endorsed my campaign. And it's all about, not promises made to them, it's to just basically back them, support them, because that's all they're looking for.
How do we help small businesses during this COVID-19 crisis come back on track? I mean, we want the economy to recover. We want our schools to reopen. We have to do it in a smart way. How do we help those small businesses that have basically been, the ones that have survived have been primarily in a lifeline from the federal government? How does the county help them get back into the game and help them rebuild their businesses?
You let them open. You let them operate. I mean, I think the mayor made a mistake, and I've had a great relationship with the current mayor, but I think there was a fundamental slip up here where businesses that had taken all the steps to operate in a very safe way. They invested in plexiglass. They invested in all the parameters to keep their employees, their customers safe. They bought merchandise to make sure that they could sustain their businesses, and it's government telling businesses to close. And to me, for a small business, and I have unique experience in this, that is a death nail.
Sure.
And to do it one time is one thing. Some of our businesses are resilient enough to do it a second time. There are businesses today, Raúl, that are not going to come back. They won't come back,
Sure.
and they're done. And that's unfortunate, because for those that need to work, for those that need to pay their mortgage, pay their rent, put food on the table, the best stimulus plan I think that we could author right now is allowing businesses to operate. Let them tell us how could they operate in a safe space, and then let's help them to be able to fulfill that vision.
And the other big component of your plan, infrastructure. We have some infrastructure needs in this community. Where are you on this whole issue of sea level rise? I mean, where do you see that going? I mean, how important is it to the South Florida community?
Well, we're at the epicenter, and it's no denying it. And this is not a Republican or Democrat issue. It's not even a liberal or conservative issue. There are some fundamental things that we need to not close our eyes to. We have seen for the first time that I could remember, and I've been a 40-year resident of 50-year resident of Miami Dade County. Beach closures because of fecal matter. When did that happen? I don't ever remember that happen. Sargassum on our beaches, where literally folks are rerouting their vacations and not coming to South Florida. And if we don't have a healthy beach, I think we could pretty much kiss off South Florida if you don't have a healthy economy that the beach and tourism basically support. So I would tell you, beach renourishment, critically important. Water quality, critically important. We have a large percentage of our residents on septic tanks. I support efforts to help and allow for tourists to pay for the conversion of these septic tanks to the sewer system. And these are investments that are not sexy, they're underground, nobody campaigns on them, but these are the building blocks for a successful community. So as a conservative, I would tell you, I look at this from a long-term economic situation for Miami-Dade County. These are investments that need to be made now in order for us to sustain a Miami-Dade County in the future.
Talk to us about groundwater quality, because I think a lot of people don't realize that South Florida was built on the fact that we have these wells out here, primarily in West Dade, that are pumping up fresh water from the aquifer. And to the extent that we have sea level rise, we have that intrusion into that aquifer. And it creates a major problem, because if we don't have fresh water in South Florida, that is really what built this entire community. I mean,
it's what sustains us, right? And so I think it's two things that we need to always be mindful. That saltwater infiltration, we always have to be mindful of it. And we've worked with Senator Marco Rubio, with Congressman Diaz-Balart, with the DeSantis government now, Governor DeSantis, to make sure water quality issues, that filtration system that we have in the Everglades, is not only restored but protected. Because if those that understand how water works, and how it flows into South Florida, that filtration system is critical, that we have clean water. And you're absolutely right. Look, if you don't have clean water in South Florida, we got to pick up and go, right?
Right. We got about a minute left.
Yeah.
Look at the camera. Tell the audience why they should vote for Esteban Bovo come this August.
Absolutely.
August 18th.
And I want to thank everybody for the opportunity. Thank you, Raúl, for the opportunity. I want you to go to stevebovo.com. stevebovo.com. You could find out all the information about our campaign. And our campaign really boils down to one fundamental issue. We want county government to fulfill the mission it was designed for. You pay taxes for police, fire, to have your streets repaired, your garbage removed. And oftentimes we see our government move into spaces that does a disservice to the taxpayer. So I pledge to you as a conservative, the only fiscal conservative running in this race, is to make sure that the priorities of you, the taxpayers, are being met. stevebovo.com. I'm number 361 on the ballot. Elections have already started. People can vote by mail now. Early voting starts on Monday, August 3rd, and will run literally through the election on the 18th. I ask you to not sit this out. Local government has more of an impact on your life than you could imagine. In fact, it has more of an impact than the federal government has. And I would tell you, if we don't want to go the route of a New York or a San Francisco or a Portland, now's the time to make sure that we don't do that.
Thank you very much, Esteban. Thank you for being on the program. Appreciate you taking time out from your busy schedule in the middle of this political season to talk to us. Very interesting individual, some great ideas. And I think one of the great things that I love about Esteban is his focus on that transparency and on really focusing on the needs of the taxpayers and the people who live here, and doing away with all this other garbage and stuff that we're sort of static that we're hearing out there. Let's get back to the brass tacks, as they say. Thank you for being with us. We're going to take a commercial break and then be back to review some of the week's events. Thank you for being here on Mas con Mas, and thank you again, Esteban, for being with us.
My pleasure.
Take care. We are Entv USA. You can find us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Roku. You can also download our mobile applications either from Google Play or from the Apple Store, depending on your online device. Give us a shot. You'll like what you see. Con una vista, basta.
Your body's immune system is under constant pressure from things like stress and toxins in the environment. It's crucial to be proactive and support your immune system. Introducing fast-acting Zinc Plus Immune Support by Longevity. Unlike zinc-only supplements, Zinc Plus Immune Support builds on the proven power of zinc and adds complementary nutrients, while our proprietary blend of natural fruit and root extracts provides the extra help your immune system needs to work against daily stressors. And we've included Longevity's exclusive plant-derived minerals to give your body the minerals it needs but can't get from food alone. And because Zinc Plus Immune Support is delivered in a great-tasting sugar-free berry-flavored lozenge, it encourages quicker absorption of all these nutrients into your body. Zinc Plus Immune Support. Zinc plus the extra support your body needs to promote a healthy immune system. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Antioxidants are essential to protect your cells against the damaging effects of free radicals. Purmeric by Longevity harnesses the power of nature to combat free radicals by delivering a potent boost of antioxidants known for their incredible healing properties. Sourced from certified organic turmeric root, Purmeric contains 95% curcuminoids, the active compounds that quash free radicals. Turmeric has been used in Ayurvedic and Chinese medicine for thousands of years to promote both heart and brain health, as well as its powerful anti-inflammatory properties. We've also included a botanical blend of phytonutrients that include flavonoids, carotenoids, and sulfides. These natural, plant-based chemicals are powerful contributors to overall health and well-being. Purmeric, the organic antioxidant supplement from Longevity, formulated to promote optimal health. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
Understanding your microbiome can change everything you thought you knew about nutrition, digestion, immunity, and metabolism. Ultimate Microbiome by Longevity was specifically formulated to optimize this ecosystem. It provides the advanced support your gut needs through prebiotic, probiotic, and postbiotic supplementation. Our unique blend of probiotics includes Lactobacillus and Plantarum, healthy bacteria, which has been shown to aid in weight loss, sleep, mood, and may even help with seasonal allergies. To enhance digestion, Digizyme Multi-Enzyme Complex, a blend of 5 specific enzymes, has been added to Ultimate Microbiome. It can help break down food so your body can better absorb nutrients. Ultimate Microbiome, the scientific, proprietary, and holistic approach to gut health that helps optimize your body's entire gut ecosystem. To learn more, contact your Longevity associate.
More and more healthcare professionals and people seeking alternative and natural health treatments are turning to hemp-based products because of the growing body of research supporting its benefits. Youngevity has leveraged our years of natural plant-based nutritional research to introduce 3 new products. Hemp FX Soothe helps support muscles and joints by enhancing a healthy immune response and reducing free radical stress. For optimal results, it contains our hemp-derived CBD plus the powerful antioxidant glutathione. Hemp FX Relax helps ease the mind and the body for a deep and restful sleep. We combined our hemp-derived CBD with melatonin to help support your best night's sleep. To help support positive energy for your mind and your mood, we created Hemp FX Uplift. In combination with St. John's wort and a specialized set of terpenes and cannabinoid enhancers. To learn more about Hemp FX, contact your Youngevity distributor or visit hempfx.com.
A strong heart is a happy heart. Your body's systems depend on a healthy cardiovascular system to thrive. Without a healthy heart, you could experience symptoms like fatigue, aches and pains, dizziness, or shortness of breath. Youngevity developed Ultimate EFA Plus with a proprietary balanced blend of essential fatty acids. We started with flaxseed oil. It's been shown to improve the elasticity of arteries and support healthy blood pressure. Next, we included cold water fish oils, rich in omega-3s that can promote a healthy cardiovascular system and even increase levels of good HDL cholesterol. Then we added borage oil, known for its powerful anti-inflammatory properties. Blended together, these essential fatty acids provide you with the optimal blend of nutrients to help maintain normal cardiovascular health. Ultimate EFA Plus, the right nutrients to improve your heart health naturally. To learn more, contact your Youngevity associate.
Welcome back to Moscow Mas. Thank you again to our sponsors, Cachita Coffee, Youngevity, and Grimal Joyeria for making this program possible. And thank you, the viewer, for sticking with us on this third segment. We're going to talk a little bit about the news of the week, some things that have been going on throughout the United States that I'm sure some of you may have heard about them. Some of you may have been a little bit too busy and didn't pick up on them, but I think that they're important subjects to talk about. I want to start off by talking about the continued protests that we're seeing throughout America, particularly this last week in Seattle and in Portland, Oregon. These protests are not really protests, that are peaceful by any stretch of the imagination. And in fact, if you look at, and we're going to show some video now that's going to show some of the instruments that have been confiscated by the Seattle Police Department as a result of these riots that they confronted in their city. These are not peaceful protests, folks. These individuals in Seattle and Portland are taking fireworks, big, powerful fireworks. They're duct taping them together, and they're basically sending them over to where the police are in the form of like small bombs to try and hurt police officers. They are using strips with nails embedded on them to destroy their vehicles, to attack them with those. They are using leaf blowers to basically blow back the tear gas that the police officers are using against them. It's really remarkable how sophisticated these so-called peaceful protesters have become. And you'll see there in that video, some of the things that are being used against law enforcement officers in Seattle and Portland. It is shameful. It is hurtful to the police officers. People could lose their lives. They could lose a limb. They're also using these high-powered, these laser pointers, trying to point the lasers into the eyes of these police officers, possibly blinding them or hurting them permanently. So I encourage all of you to take a look at that. And really, if you're as upset about it as I am, do something about it. Call them out. write to your representative, write to your senators, tell them that this is not acceptable behavior in the United States of America when we have individuals, anarchists, groups like Antifa, challenging our police forces in urban cities in America, and doing so in a violent manner that could make matters even worse, and that could cause additional lives being lost, particularly the lives of police officers that are protecting all of us. So I urge you to pay attention to that. It is something serious in this country, and it's not good news. Other big news this week that I think we need to talk about as well is we finally saw the contraction, the economic contraction in the second quarter of this year. During the first quarter, which was basically January, February, March, when those numbers came out, we only saw a decline of roughly 5% in the economy. That was basically because, if you think about when this pandemic began, it really started towards the end of March. So the economy was not really that badly hurt when you look at it in terms of the overall first quarter of this year. But the numbers that were released earlier this week that show the second quarter, that is April, May, and June, show a decline of roughly 32.9% in our economy, the largest decline in economic activity, I think, since the 1940s, 1947 or something. And it shows just how deep the hurt has been to the U.S. economy. It's a big number. It caused the stock market to decline several hundred points yesterday. It shows once again the damage that the COVID-19 has caused to our economy. And it begs the question, what's going to happen now that, we've taken this hit, and are Republicans and Democrats going to come together to try and continue the economic stimulus to help small businesses continue to operate, to help those that are unemployed continue to receive some assistance, both from their state level and perhaps at the federal level. It appears that that's going to happen, but I don't know when exactly that's going to happen. As we're doing this program, it's July 31st. There has not been an agreement between Republicans and Democrats on a second stimulus plan. The Democrats are looking for a plan that is basically $3 billion worth of assistance. Republicans have a much lower number in mind of roughly $1 billion. The Democrats want to extend the $600 unemployment benefits all the way through the end of the year. Republicans aren't willing to do that. And there needs to be a meeting of the minds to figure out how we can continue to assist those small businesses that are still hurting, that are trying to recover, and how we can continue to help families that are unemployed and need assistance in order to get through this hump that we're in. Tied into all this, obviously, is the opening of the school system. We're all concerned about getting our kids back to school, getting them back in a classroom where teachers can actually teach and interact with them. We've heard anecdotally that some of this internet stuff really hasn't worked that well in terms of educating our children. It's important to get them back into the classroom. But more importantly, I remind people, in most of our communities, school systems are major employers. They employ teachers, they employ administrators, they employ custodians, they employ, lawn maintenance people, all sorts of folks that live off the education system in our communities. Those folks are without employment right now as well. So we can't continue to live in this internet bubble forever. I know that, we're all concerned about, being out there, COVID-19. We've seen the distressing news earlier this week. Herman Cain, a highly successful businessman, a Republican candidate for president several years ago, was suffering from cancer, but apparently contracted COVID-19, and the combination of his weakened immune system as a result of the cancer and the COVID-19, he died yesterday. A huge loss for America, a great entrepreneur, a great individual who demonstrated the American dream fulfilled, in the form of Herman Cain. So we're all very concerned about that. But at some point, we got to get out of this bubble. And while we try and get out of this bubble, we need to continue our efforts to wear these masks, okay, wherever we're out in public or with people, maintain that social distancing where we can. But let's work to try and get our economy back on track. Something else happened earlier this week, and it really happened shortly after the bad news about the second quarter contraction being down roughly 33% during the second quarter. President Trump came out and said that, well, maybe we should consider delaying the election. And that had a very immediate knee-jerk reaction, not just from Democrats, but also from Republicans, including Mitch McConnell. And, you know, I was surprised by the president's comments, mainly because, and I've said this on several occasions, sometimes the president is his own worst enemy. He will say things, perhaps to distract attention from the bad economic news or whatever, because he tweeted this thing out about, possibly postponing the election. And I think it ended up blowing up in his face, because universally, Republicans and Democrats came out and said there is no way that we're going to change election date being November 3rd. And I don't blame them. Look, we've gone through world wars. We've gone through a 10-year depression back in the 1920s, and we have never in America changed the date of our federal elections. And I don't think it's going to happen now. And for the president to sort of suggest that we ought to change that, which, by the way, he can't do unilaterally. That requires, decision on behalf of Congress. But to the president to sort of suggest that, whether it was to detract attention from the bad economic news, whatever, I think was just really, once again, bringing problems and headaches upon himself. And I think it gets to what I've said before. The president is sometimes his own worst enemy when he's trying to communicate these issues. And really that sort of unfiltered communication that he has with the public, sometimes it works to his benefit, sometimes it works to his peril. And I think in this case it absolutely worked against him. Finally, I want to sort of close this segment by talking about something that we've mentioned before on this program. Several weeks ago, I started covering the issue of Specialist Vanessa Guillen. Vanessa is a U.S. Army soldier out at Fort Hood, Texas. She was murdered a couple months ago, disappeared from the base. Nobody knew what had happened to her. The Army launched an investigation. And lo and behold, a few weeks ago, they finally discovered her body. She had been killed by a fellow soldier who then, unfortunately, dismembered her body and buried it outside of the base. Just a horrific story. It caused a lot of backlash from the Hispanic community in Texas in particular, talking about how the Army wasn't a safe place for women in particular. The Army has moved very quickly, the Secretary of the Army has moved very quickly to investigate what transpired there. They finally found this individual. They went to arrest him several weeks ago, the fellow who killed her. Unfortunately, he committed suicide before he could be captured. His girlfriend that apparently was also involved in the murder was in fact arrested. She is still undergoing some part of an investigation that's ongoing. But the family was received by President Trump yesterday in the White House. And I think that's absolutely a positive sign from the standpoint that we can't bring Vanessa Guillen back. Unfortunately, she's now passed away. But I appreciate the fact that the president is taking the time and effort to meet with her family, to listen to her concerns. And it was very moving watching that video of Vanessa's mother in the White House, in the Oval Office, talking to the president, expressing her pain in Spanish through a translator to the president, and having the president listen. And I think that those images of the president, of a president that is listening, that is compassionate, that cares about America, whether you're white, black, Hispanic, those are the messages that the Trump campaign needs to focus on if they plan to be successful in November. I think when the president gets sidetracked, when the president begins to talk about things that he hasn't really thought through very clearly, such as delaying the election, I think it causes enormous damage to the campaign. And I wish that the president would stop that behavior because, as I've mentioned before, oftentimes, he's his own worst enemy. In the meantime, I'm grateful for the fact that he has received the family of Specialist Gillen at the White House, and I thank you for spending this time with me on the program tonight. Look forward to seeing you again next week on another segment of Mas con Mas. I am your host, Raúl Mas Canosa, and thank you again to our sponsors, Longevity, Cachita Coffee, and Grimal Joyeria for making this program possible. Look forward to seeing you again next Friday at 9 p.m. here on Mas con Mas. Thank you.